And here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Real Management Talk with LJ and Jocelyn.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. We've got another great episode for you tonight.
Yep, so we're gonna talk about you've got to pay the cost to be the boss.
Come on now, tell them.
You really do, right? Isn't this, you and I were just having this discussion about your love of this James Brown song, which is an excellent song. It's an excellent song, but it really sums up what it means to be the boss, to own a business. Right?
Absolutely, you have to pay the cost, and people don't understand the cost is not just your initial investment, right? Like it's not just the upfront dollars, the time, the effort that you have to expend in order to get your business, whether it be nonprofit or for-profit, off the ground. It's not just that. Playing the game is not enough. You've got to create the game, and people don't understand the process. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to give you guys for free now, for free. We're going to give y'all some of the playbook.
Yeah. Some of the playbook that we have learned, we've seen in others that we've worked with. A lot of it we've learned, right? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I really looked at it, I don't like to keep this laundry list, but if I had to make a laundry list, I mean, oh my goodness, like things that
come on now.
I wish others had told me. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's so just thinking, opening thoughts, right? So just opening thoughts. When I think about the cost that I had to pay to start my own business, Tacit Growth Strategies, right? It was day in and day out. I think for the first year, I worked 7 days a week, averaging at least 15 hours a day, at least. Wasn't really getting any sleep because I wanted to build a foundation. I wanted to make sure that not only did I have a portfolio of private consultants, right, and nonprofit, you know, all these little small projects, I wanted big money. I wanted to make sure that I had government contracts and other private contracts that could basically replace the salary that I just left. The reason why I was so confident when I left my last place of employment, the reason why I was so confident to go and start my own business and do similar work to what I was doing before, plus other things, is simply because I paid the cost in that position.
Right.
I got to a point where I said, you know what? I have done all that I can for this organization. I've done all that I can in this capacity that I'm serving. I am ready to level up. I am ready to upgrade. I feel, and I have the confidence that my, vast array of skills can take me to the next level and can help me to feed myself and feed my family with my own effort, right?
Right.
I paid the cost to get to that point, and then I started all over again. And now, as a small business owner, I am still paying the cost to be the boss, right? It's not a past tense. It is very much a present tense.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really doesn't ever stop, and in different ways, right? So like when I started my company dang near 2 decades ago now, when I think about it, you know, I was in the professional position I was in was very high level and scrutinized and required a lot of time. I mean, you know, it wasn't unusual in that position to put in 65, 70 hours a week. And I was still, to start building this, not just from early clients, but to really start building, right? I was still putting in a lot of hours. At one point, my husband would probably tell you, I probably worked between 100 and 120 hours a week. In other words, I slept very little, right, to get everything off the ground. But then you fast forward through all of the iterations of a business, that's been in business as long as mine is, and a name change, and finally did the LLC thing, and then you get to a point like right now where you finally go, you know what, that worked in the past, and I like that in the past, or as a company, or we as a company have outgrown this. Not only I as the founder of the company, but we as the company have outgrown it. And so you start paying a different cost again, but there's a cost because there's different risk. There's risk that when you're shifting, that you might not have any revenue coming in for a couple of months. And, and I'm all, for me and the folks that I work with, I'm all about revenue stabilization and cash flow stabilization. But to pay the cost, to pay this cost, you have to be willing to take that risk. Or sometimes there's that opposite side of where you go write that really big check for something. I mean, I can remember 2 years ago in May of 2018. Well, actually, I take it back. It ended up being June. I wrote the first check in May, but I wrote the really big check. I never thought I would pay to do something in June of 2018, that for the next 18 months, I wrote that check. And because it was that important to me. And when I wrote that first check, I actually only knew where the revenue was coming from to pay for this thing for the first 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of go, but what I really learned through all that process was you just sometimes it's all about risk, and it's about being comfortable with taking that risk and trusting in, as you said, your abilities and everything else to do it and put food on your table and keep the roof over and help your family. And I think that's what everybody loses sight of, because I know maybe, the last 12-ish weeks, a little over, the thing about that is we've seen a lot of businesses just fold. I was talking with a group yesterday about this, and they asked me a question, and I said, one of the fundamental things that I teach everybody as a business owner or founder, it doesn't matter. Some people tell you, oh, you just founded a job. Like, I know you've heard that. I've heard that. I'm like, really? Because I don't know. I got all this legal stuff. I got all this legal stuff that the government didn't tell me that I just, founded a job for myself. But, there's a lot of businesses, though, that we saw just kind of fold almost immediately. And a lot of it actually goes back to this one simple tenet: pay yourself first.
Absolutely. What people don't understand is when you have this, I think most of us have a natural risk aversion, right? When you think about what it means to be human, to be, as we call ourselves now, homo fictitious, right? We're supposed to be homo sapien, but to be homo sapien, to want to aspire to be more homo sapien day in and day out, you obviously want routine, you want habit, you want to be able to predict, you want to be able to project. When you are risk averse, however, you are directly placing harm on yourself and your family and your community, but you're also directly stunting your own growth. There is no perpetual learner in the person who's risk averse. And I think when we talk about paying the cost to be the boss, part of that conversation starts with tacit growth. You have to be able to identify opportunities, actively seek those opportunities out to grow yourself tacitly in those ways that are beyond looking for certificates, those ways that are beyond looking for licenses, those ways that are beyond looking for another comma after your last name. Tacit growth requires you to be authentic. Your authentic self has to be intentional and purposeful. And Jocelyn can tell you all about what intentionality and purpose looks like. Holler at her with her mastermind group, because that's exactly what she can coach you through. But what I'm saying is that when we're talking about intentionality and purpose around thinking about what growth that's tacit looks like. It means you have to start with those inferential things, those implicit things that you take for granted. When we think about exercising good mental psychology, we always think about going to the gym. People want to talk about, oh, I need to go to the gym so I can get myself in shape. Where's your mind at? How is your mental, right? How is your mental? Part of the conversation about paying the cost to be the boss means compromising day to day your mental stability, your sanity. That is one of the greatest costs to being the boss and continuing to being the boss, is that you will experience the greatest loneliness, the greatest depression, the greatest anxiety that you've ever probably experienced in your life. And to be resilient is something that you have to remind yourself to be through daily habits. You're breaking habits. You're not doing the same thing every day. You're breaking habits to build resiliency. People don't understand that concept yet, right? But you understand it when you become an entrepreneur, when you become a business owner, where, like you said, you're not creating, you haven't founded a job, you are creating jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You are a creator of jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I feel like I just said so much.
No, I think that that's great, because, you know, you hit on another facet of this. You are a creator. See, this is the thing that we forget. We are all built to create. In fact, we create every single day. And, you know, some people who are listening to this, maybe they don't believe in God like I believe in God, or like you do, or, you know, maybe they don't have that belief at all. But the truth is, as humans, we were put on this planet, and really the truth is, we create every day. We don't think about that. So the very first part of creation is, well, of course I just created a job for myself, because that's the first thing I need to create in this legal thing I just set up. Because if I don't,
so I don't get fired from my own position, and then my family has to pay everything back.
Exactly. Well, and you know, and not to say though that there aren't days I don't want to fire myself, because it probably is, right? I mean, now after all these years for me, but you know, it's like you know, like I'm creating now. I made a conscious decision, and with my company last year, to start moving towards a totally new direction that people are not used to from us. And in the middle
especially as women.
Yeah, well, especially
as business women, yeah.
And then, you know, as you know, in the middle of all of this pandemic, I decided that this was a great time to just fully play all out on that and jettison like all the stuff that everybody knows us for, right? You know, we can't do that overnight, because we have obligations and, you know, certain things like that with clients. But
you just made a critical point. Especially as women, I think we find it difficult. We are the bearers of everything. We do all the hard work. We bring life into this world. We make this world possible, right? So for us, when we think about being creators and we think about placing value on that creation, women, we are our greatest critics. We don't understand that just what you and I are doing right now, this is valuable. Place value on that. You can place a dollar amount on what we're doing right now. Everything that Jocelyn has done to create several platforms for you all to be able to consume us is extraordinarily valuable, right? But we as women, we have a tendency to always devalue these things that we do because we work so hard. And for us, the equation is hard work. Hard work is the denominator for how we come to assign value to something. But that's not what this is about, right? Paying the cost does not mean that you drive yourself insane and that you're the hardest working person in the room. That's not what we're saying here. That's not the boss.
No.
That's the worker bee. We want there to be a happy marriage. especially as women owners, women business owners, there has to be a happy marriage and a happy balance between being that worker bee that we've always been and that we've always been known to be, and actually being a boss as we've come to define it, because we have placed value on every aspect of our time and effort.
Yep.
Not just the stuff that we thought was hard, not just the stuff that we thought was challenging, on everything, even the stuff that's easy, that phone call that we made, that podcast that we created. That's what we have to do. We have to reprogram. We have to deprogram and then reprogram ourselves to see the value in the work that we create.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right about it. But like, I think about your company that you've created and using all of your skill set. And like, I've learned more about project management in a lot of the ways that you, no, I mean, seriously, I mean, like I know, I mean, you know, from some of the same work that you and I both share, I mean, I know quite a bit about it, but you know,
Yep.
In this realm, you're the expert. And as we talk through things and even with this whole discussion about how these discussions came about, right? That now we have this platform that we're sharing. You know, you said, "Hey, let's look at this," da 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 da, and it allowed that plan between both of us and that project management. How's this go? And but as that creation cycle's gone, it's gone. Oh wait, let's go do this. Let's try this. Let's. Hey, you know, we see this, right? So so it's growing, we're creating, but you know, I think you hit on something else that's probably a much longer discussion. I don't know, this could become a whole summit around this, because I've had an idea for a long time around all this. But you know, we as women, not just as women business owners, but really as women, we abjugate. I'm probably not using that word right, so there we go, but abdicate rather. Abdicate. That one's not right. Abdicate. We often abdicate the power, the little power that we have in this world.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this world that, quite honestly, if we as women will recognize that, stop undervaluing it, and honestly, sometimes quit fighting with each other. I'm just going to say that.
About that.
Because, you know, I've worked with some all male
stop expecting women to act like men. How about that? Can we start where what you just said, we abdicate? Why? Because the people that we're working with are giving us the pressure that we're supposed to act like a typical type A male that is in the position. They want somebody that's going to treat them basically like their father. That's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. You know, and honestly, I've worked with all male staffs. I've worked with all female staffs, and I've worked with mixed staffs when I was working for other people. I'm not. It's in, you know, any women who are listening to this, but I'm just going to say this quite honestly. I was the most miserable when I worked with an all-female staff, because of what you just said right there. Most of that female staff, like, they wanted me to treat them like their mother or their father. And I was like, can't you just be you? Can't we just agree? You know, I mean, as humans, we're not always going to agree, right? Because we all have different experiences like that. But as women business owners, though, I mean, we're the fastest growing sector as far as business ownership goes. It's women. It's also looking at, like, you know, how do you want to grow and how do you want to create? And I know that you have big goals for your company. I have big goals for my company. We know how we want to impact the world. But sometimes that's also about being, you know what, I don't like what I've been doing, like I recently said, you know. I don't like the majority of the stuff I've done for 19 years. So I'm just not going to do that anymore. And then going, well, that's...
Even though you brought extraordinary fruit over those 19 years, and that fruit has culminated for several of these organizations in multi-million-dollar gains.
Yeah.
We have done so much, and that was the other part of the conversation. I know we got to get off because you know, people don't want to listen to us too long, but this is the other thing I want us to say before I go is when you think about paying the cost to be the boss, you have to know, we have a previous episode, guys, go watch the other episode about when to divorce clients.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very cognizant as you're going into business for yourself, or if you're supporting a business. You have to be very cognizant of your time and your effort. And you have to get to a place and a point in your life where you place greater value on your own mental health, and you place greater value on those opportunities and being around people who understand where you're coming from, who, if they don't understand, like Jocelyn just said, if they don't understand where you're coming from, at least have the sensitivity, the compassion, and the care to pause and seek ways to understand why you think the way that you think, why you feel the way that you feel. If you're not surrounded by those types of people and working with those types of people, you must divorce yourself from that situation, because that is not only is it toxic, it's hostile, and it's also what it means to you, and what it should always signal to you as the aspiring boss is that these are people that you will not be able to manage. Mm-hmm. And if you are in a situation where you are not able to manage people, ever, if you can't ever see, after you ask yourself and be real and say, could I ever manage this person? Okay, if the answer is no, you need to walk away. Because if people don't want to be led and they don't want to be managed, but they also don't want to step up to do the work that is necessary to make progress happen, you are wasting your time and your effort, because the moment you walk away is the moment the progress walks away, which means that the progress was not going to stay anyway.
True. Very true. And I think we just end on that note, because that was very powerful.
I got chills thinking about it. I mean, a whole word, Miss Jocelyn, a whole word.
Excellent. It's excellent. And folks, on that note, because we're just going to end right there this week. On that note, we will catch you on the next episode. And so we're going to say goodbye today. Bye, all.
All right. Goodbye. Thank you.